Hi, my name is Emily Crow, the designer and maker behind Crochet Creations, and I'm here today with a process vlog for you. I like to make functional and classic pieces that fit in with a modern lifestyle. I wanted to show you how I design a piece from start to finish. Here on YouTube, I'm sharing my content with podcasts, day in the life videos, vlogs, even some tutorials here and there. If you are new here, I would love if you could subscribe and hit the bell notification down below. I don't quite have an upload schedule, but I'm trying to upload regularly throughout the month, all different types of content, like I said before. So if any of that is something you're interested in, I would love to have you join us here. I also have other links in the description for any other products or places or patterns or whatever else that I may mention, as well as links to my social media, my blog, things like that, so you can check me out there. So without further ado, let's talk about this new design that I have in mind. I was scrolling through Pinterest and I saw a beautiful scarf, a color block, stripy scarf pattern, and it just looked so soft and cozy. I saw this design and I was immediately struck by inspiration. I wanted to make something like that for myself, and I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to design something new for the winter season. I continued looking on Pinterest. It's been a really great resource for me to find things, find out if someone has something similar to my idea already as far as a crochet pattern goes, but also to kind of give me an idea mood-wise. I can kind of create a mood board of the kind of product I want to make, picture inspiration for helping me kind of visualize what I want to make. So I'll share that with you here so you can kind of see the things that I have put in my board for this scarf and kind of what inspiration I'm going for. I'm kind of looking for something classic, something elegant that you could take with you to your day job at the office, but then also you could snuggle up at home with it, with a cup of tea by a fireplace, maybe reading a book or working on some knitting or crochet or something. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as like the mood goes. I would love to have it be a multi-colored neutral scarf, to have multiple neutral shades, color blocked and striped throughout, but then also it'd be nice to have a little pop of color, add a little bit of personality. Maybe pick your favorite color for the season that you're on. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And as far as the fabric goes, I've not ever worked with mohair before. And I know that mohair or like suri alpaca can be really soft, can give a nice like fuzzy, squishy texture to the yarn and to the piece. And I thought that a scarf like this would be a perfect chance to use some mohair for a design. I went to the yarn store, I looked through everything that they had there, and I felt lots of yarn, lots of squish, and I ended up picking out this type of yarn, Rowan Alpaca Classic. And for that yarn, it is actually a DK weight yarn already. It's an alpaca and cotton blend. And that's not typical for like a mohair or a suri alpaca type of yarn. Normally it's a lace weight, and then lots of people will hold mohair or suri alpaca together with a fingering weight yarn in order to make a DK weight end fiber. And I'm not opposed to doing that. I think I'm going to include instructions for that in my pattern, since that is a pretty common practice for people who use mohair. But I thought that it was pretty handy that I could make something with mohair in it. Well, that I can make something with some of this fluffy alpaca blend in it, but it was already a DK weight, so I don't need to pair it with anything else in order to get the right gauge that I will promote to other people. So people could use this exact same yarn or a similar yarn, but they could also use a mohair paired with a fingering weight yarn to get a similar effect. I thought that would be really good. Lots of people could make this pattern and replicate it in what they have available or what they would like to use and still get similar effects. Now, working with mohair with suri, when it's washed, it gets really fluffy. It's called a bloom, or like a haze that it has on the yarn. And so it can kind of fill in the gaps in between the fibers and it just makes a really fluffy, fuzzy texture that is so fun to squish. So that's really what I'm going for. In order to do that, I need to make some gauge swatches. I'm not quite sure what crochet hook I will want to use with this yarn in order to get the fabric I want. But most especially, I will need to make some gauge swatches of different varieties, different stitches, different hook sizes, and see after blocking what those fabrics look like, because that is more important than knowing what the fabric does before I block it. This will definitely be a piece that needs to be blocked in order to really show how the fabric comes out. That's the first part of my action plan. Now that I have one skein of this Alpaca Classic yarn, I can play around with it, test things out. I'm gonna block a handful of gauge swatches at the same time and then kind of compare and contrast and see what I like the most. And then that will tell me the kind of fabric I'm gonna have for my pattern. And then I can do the math and kind of figure out how much more yarn I will need. And we'll take another trip to the yarn store and then we will make the thing. And this is gonna be kind of a longer process. I actually purchased this yarn a few weeks ago with my mom when she came out to visit, and we visited a local yarn store. And I just haven't had a chance to play around with it. I've had other things on my plate. I just recently got a gimbal, which is gonna help me so much with vlogging and kind of showing you videos behind the scenes of what I'm doing for Crochet Creations. So now that I have my gimbal and I have a little bit of time, I am going to get started on this design. And let's see, today is September 18th. And we'll see, I guess, how long it takes for me to go from start to finish of this project. Yeah, it should be nothing too crazy, but it'll involve lots of learning experiences for me, working with the new fiber content and kind of playing around and seeing what I like most and what'll give me the fabric that I want for my piece. Okay, so I've had a little bit of a chance to play with my yarn, my Rowan Alpaca Classic, and kind of what I said before, kind of what I said before is I wanted to play around with the gauge to kind of see what fabric I wanted. The yarn calls for, as far as knitting needles go, a US 5 or 3 3/4 millimeter. And I just knew that since I was really wanting to hone in on that halo of the yarn, that like extra fuzzy outer layer crown of the yarn, that I wanted a little bit looser gauge so that as I washed my gauge swatches and I blocked them, that yarn would bloom and kind of fill in those gaps and still leave a really drapey fabric. So that's kind of been the plan. I'm not quite sure exactly what hook I want to use, and so I just chose two different hooks, a 6.5 millimeter and an 8 millimeter hook, and I am testing those out. So I'll kind of compare what I've got so far, and this is pre-block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare before blocking to after blocking, see kind of how much the fabric changes and grows. Oh, hi Alfred. Please don't climb on my lap. Now is not the time. So I'm going to compare pre-blocking and after blocking, what the fabric does, how it looks, measure my gauge before and after to help me better understand that fabric and know exactly what I want. Okay, so on this side, I've got my double crochet swatches because I'm also trying to figure out exactly what stitch I want to use. Top is the smaller hook, bottom is a larger one, and even using like an 8 millimeter hook, I'm sure I could use a bigger hook and get even more space in the stitches, but it was even starting to get a little bit hard with the 8 millimeter hook to crochet this, so I don't think I want to go any bigger than that, just for the enjoyment of the crocheting experience. So those two swatches, and then these two swatches are half double crochet, which is like my favorite basic stitch, in the two different hook sizes too. And this one, I mean, you can compare like the airiness of even double crochet to half double crochet with the same hook. So I think that these 4 swatches are going to do totally different things. It'll be really interesting to see what blocking does. So I'm going to take my notes, take my pictures, get my measurements, make sure I know exactly which swatch is which, and then I'm going to block them all together, compare them, and we'll come back and see which swatch I prefer and that'll help tell me what kind of fabric I want my blanket scarf to be. This yarn has been really interesting to work with because of like that halo and the nature of the fibers. It just sticks to itself so much. It's so sticky and it makes it a little bit trickier to crochet with. I can't have my hands be too dry because then it'll stick to my hands, and I can't have my hands be too oily, like fresh with lotion either, or else it'll stick in kind of a different way. So it's been kind of interesting to work with, and yeah, I'm excited to do a little bit more once I figure out exactly what fabric I like. I think I'm either liking the smaller hook with the double crochet, or the larger hook with the half double crochet are my two favorite swatches now, but we'll see after I block kind of what happens. All right, so we are back. It's been a couple days since I blocked my swatches, and they're dry now. I took Sunday off. I try not to do anything design or business related on that day and just spend some time enjoying myself, my family, my worship, all that. Anyway, so we are back to work on Monday today, and I have my swatches. I will pop a picture up so you can see how the different swatches compare, but I will tell you I forgot to measure the swatches before I blocked. Oops. But they didn't actually grow that much, surprisingly enough. And I didn't try to like stretch them out a ton, but I think because of how the yarn is sticking together, even just working with it, it kind of held its shape and structure more than I anticipated, which is kind of interesting. So they didn't grow that much, but I'll show you kind of how the swatches compare. I think I'm leaning towards doing a half double crochet with a larger hook size. It just has a little bit better of a drape. It's not quite as stiff as the smaller hook size, even though I like just the visual look of the smaller hook size. But I'm not 100% decided yet. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So yeah, getting rid of those two. Don't like them. But for these two, this one is a lot thicker and like sturdier. I just like the look of it. This one though is a lot more flowy and comfy. So this might be more of the vibe that I'm going for. So I think I might do that. Oh, and here the problem with having the good natural light is that you can see the chaos going on right behind me throughout my home. I promise I have done some cleaning and organizing today, but with a 10-month-old baby who has already started walking, there's only so much I can do to just keep up with everything. But yeah, so it is nap time now, hence why baby is not around. Things are a little bit quiet. So yeah, those are my swatches, and I think I am, in retrospect, leaning towards the larger hook size for the half double crochet. And now it's just doing a whole lot of math, trying to figure out how much yarn I'll need in general. But now I gotta figure out where I want my colors, blocks, and stripes to be, so then I can figure out how much yarn I need for each color. So now there's a lot of the design phase. And I've been thinking about my scarf, and yes, it's gonna be half double crochet blanket scarf. Like, it's not rocket science, it's not anything super crazy new or different, but the whole of my design is something I've never seen before. The yarn I'm using and the potential for yarn combinations that will be written within the pattern, the color blocking and striping is not just like 1, 2, 3, 4, like all the colors. I'm going to be intermixing them, different sizes, so it's going to be really different. It's going to be really intentional, the different coloring that I choose to use and how they lay together, so that you can wear the blanket scarf either as one long wrap and not have the colors intermix the wrong way. I don't know. It's going to be very intentional, and so it's going to take me a while to figure out the design element of the colors that I want to use. And it's going to be a totally different dimension. You don't see blanket scarves very often. And so I will be continuing on with this pattern because I am investing a lot of time and effort into designing this piece to be exactly what I want it to be. And so I'm excited for this pattern to go through. I think I was experiencing some imposter syndrome, feeling like this design wasn't going to be enough to publish. But I really think that the amount of effort and artistic creativity I'm putting into this makes it totally worth putting out into the world. All right, so I thought I would show you kind of the actual design process for this scarf. I have a tentative name, the Cardamom scarf. I wrote down my gauge based on the swatch I did and the final measurements that I'm going for my blanket scarf, based on just something I had in my closet that I thought would work pretty well. So I kind of guesstimated based on those measurements and my gauge swatch how many rows and stitches I wanted to do. So I have a plan there, and I found out that my grid is 35 squares. And if I want to do 140 rows of my pattern, that is 35 times 4. So actually, if I end up doing, I'll show you what I'm thinking, the same pattern mirrored like on both sides of the scarf, if you were to wear it long, if you're gonna wear it both sides like this, then essentially I just have to plan one half of it because the other half will already be accounted for. So if one side is 35 blocks, that's actually 70 rows. So each block counts for 2 rows. Awesome, easy math. Anyway, I did a lot of math with proportions after I sketched out a whole bunch of different potential versions. This is the one I landed on, and I'm sure I'll still change it when I actually work it up in yarn. But I compared the amount of each color, did some math proportionally how much of the scarf it's going to be, and then after doing some math with the grams and what? Okay, so for some reason my gimbal is like traveling, kind of making things a little bit wonky. Anyway, still trying to figure this out. But I did some proportions with grams and rows for my gauge swatch compared to how big I want the final scarf. Did some math, found out how many skeins of this yarn I need. And then I realized, because I want this pattern to be easy to replicate with mohair and fingering held together, 4 skeins of 50-gram mohair or suri yarn would totally work. Like, that's so easy. I don't know why I was thinking so hard about how to do this. And I'm sure that with 50 grams, you're gonna have way more yardage than you actually need for this pattern. But it'll be good to use up leftovers. It'll kind of be a good scrap busting project. So that's kind of the thought. All right, so I'm back from the yarn store. I have my little haul. And you know what? I didn't even buy extra yarn. I just bought the yarn that was on my list. So pretty proud of myself for having some restraint there. But I'll show you the colors that I picked. And I already kind of knew what colors I wanted. I just had to compare and see how they would play together. So here they are. So these are the 4 colors that I chose. I knew I would be doing mostly neutrals. And I just wanted the Berry Sorbet as the pop of color. But these are what I ended up deciding on. I thought I was gonna go for more of like maybe a charcoal gray to kind of blend with this lighter gray, but I decided I really wanted the contrast of the really dark black. So these are the colors I have, and the awesome thing about this scarf pattern is that you could really do whatever colors you want. So you could go for high contrast, you could go for neutrals, you could go for almost like a fade or some similar colors. So that's what I've got. And so now it's time to actually make the thing and see if I like the colors that I wrote down in my notebook, and to make adjustments as needed, write that down so I can keep track and come up with some color blocking that I really like. All right, so it has been a while since I last filmed. I'm not quite sure when that was, but today is November 4th. So I know it's been a very long time. Oh, we have our cat joining. Hi, Alfred. If you can hear him, I apologize. We've moved since I last filmed, and so things have been kind of crazy. We're in kind of a different setup now in my bedroom. We're still trying to figure out how we want everything to be in our new home. So this design has kind of been on hold as I've had pattern tests and this move and things, but now I'm really excited to get back into it. I had a random stroke of, I won't say brilliance, but I had a random idea that I really wanted to try out, and so I actually did another swatch for my gauge to try a different stitch pattern. I think I had mentioned I tried a few other stitch patterns, tried a few different hook sizes, but I had already picked what I wanted to do, but I had this idea to do the moss stitch, and I love it. Like, I love this so much more. I'll show you my old swatch. It's kind of crumpled up from being in my project bag. And like, I like it, right? But I just love the symmetry, how all the stitches interact together. I think it's really beautiful, especially in this yarn. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna do the moss stitch instead of half double crochet for my pattern. And I think this will be really good to just add a little extra something to my design. So it's not just half double crochet, but a little bit more intentional on the stitch pattern, but something still really simple that will still really show off the yarn and the color blocking, which was my original goal. So I already barely started my scarf. I'll show you me working on it for the next little bit. Okay, so in my excitement to finally start this project, I forgot to tell you a little bit about how my decision to change the stitch pattern altered my design. I showed that I made a new swatch, but my gauge actually turned out completely differently when I used the moss stitch pattern than before when I was using the half double crochet pattern. So all the math I did to try and figure out the amount of yarn I would use and how many stitches and rows to include in this design were honestly a waste, which is painful, but it's okay. I was able to use my new gauge swatch to figure out how many stitches wide and how many rows long to make my scarf to be about the size I was looking for. And as far as the amount of yarn that I needed for this design after I switched my gauge, I honestly just winged it. And I hope that the math I did earlier was close enough that I wouldn't run out. And it all worked out. I didn't run out of yarn. I ended up using up 2 colors completely, which was awesome. This design worked up super quickly, and it was really a relaxing project, perfect for working on in the evenings, and it worked up so fast. I would make another one in a heartbeat if I had the yarn for it. Since this is the very first version of the pattern, I'll probably make some tweaks to the stitch count, the row count, color blocking, all that after I block the wrap and use it for a little bit. Oh, that's another thing. I decided what to call this design. This is my Cardamom Wrap. I'm really loving this design though, so I think the published pattern will be pretty similar to the prototype. Stay tuned for part 2 of this design process vlog to see more about the pattern itself, including the testing period and the publishing of it. Alright, so you can see my messy counter. Like I said, I think I mentioned we moved, so we're still trying to figure out where things go. But I came to tell you that I finished my scarf. So you can see both sides are mirrored, left and right. I showed you some film of me working on this, but honestly, it worked up so quickly. Maybe it took me like 4 days of working on it. Super fast, super squishy. Ugh, I love it so much, and I still need to block it. I wove it on my ends. We're gonna be blocking this, and then I gotta figure out kind of what I'm gonna do for my photo shoots. So I think I want to show the versatility of this piece. So where you could dress it up, go into work at your office, and some people are back at the office now because it's nice and classy. Also nice for just snuggling up and getting cozy at home with like some tea or something. And yeah, so gonna kind of brainstorm and figure out what I want to do for that. But in the meantime, I'm going to wet block this and then lay it out on my blocking mats so that this lacy texture can open up a little bit. Yeah, I'm so excited. This is so close to being done. And then I just need to work on the pattern, write it up so that I can have some testers coming soon. Today is Tuesday, November 9th, and I need to make a testing call. My plan is on Friday, so I need to work on the pattern over the next day or two. Hopefully either tomorrow or probably Thursday is when I'll take my photos. And then Friday's the testing call. So excited! All right, it is done. I am blocking my scarf. It is nap time right now. It's been a very productive nap time.
But my other blocking mats are currently in the baby's room in her closet, so I had to be innovative. So I folded the scarf over, so I have like both layers, you can kind of see. But that made it so that I could actually line up all my color blocking so that I don't stretch out like one section more than another, so it can still be symmetrical. And the nice part about this yarn and this stitch pattern is that it was super easy to stretch it out to block to the dimensions I wanted. I was originally thinking I wanted to do it a little bit wider even, but I feel like it comfortably blocked at about 18 inches. Could have pushed it a little bit longer or a little bit wider, but I think that's fine. I do like that thickness. And then as far as the length goes, I haven't done the math, but it's like, it looks like it's about 40 inches times 2. It's about 80 inches. So it's longer and a little thinner than I had originally guesstimated, but what matters more than the size comparing to my plan is how I like it when it is worn, and I'm super excited about this. So we'll see how long it takes to dry, hopefully not too long, and I can start to do my modeling shoot to show it off and get ready. I gotta write the pattern. I don't think I have time for that during this nap. I might just barely get started on my pattern template. That will be my goal for the next day or two, to be working on that while this dries, so then I can come back to it and take some photos and be ready for testers, which is so exciting.
All right, I am on video. Okay, so I'm here at my desk and just thinking about where to stop this vlog. So I think what I'm going to do, separate the vlog into 2 parts. I'm going to do like the design, preparation, getting the pattern started kind of vlog, and then I'm going to have another vlog with the testing process and publishing process, so that if you want to watch that end of things, that you can head on over to that video. Currently it is November 15th, so I have placed my tester call already. I have a couple people that have been interested. This time of year, it's kind of hard since people are in the throes of holiday crafting and, you know, spending their energy on things like that. And so it's a little harder to find testers. I do have some, but I would love some more. So I'm really trying to push on Instagram and posting to multiple venues to field some testers. But I'll talk more about that in my next vlog. But yeah, I've taken some photos. I have more photo shoots to do for sure. It is a process. And because I want to showcase this pattern in a variety of ways, it's just, it's hard with a baby and with a husband that works out of the house to do like 4 or 5 different photo shoots, even if they're small photo shoots, to style these pictures, because they all have kind of a different mood and stuff. I'll make sure to put up on the screen some examples of photos I've already taken. And if you're not following me on Instagram at Crochet Creations, that's where you can see more of the photos and more up-to-date news on the pattern process with testers, the releases, the release when it happens, seeing all kind of things that I'm working on. I definitely have another pattern or 2 that are really close to being ready for testers, so I would love to see you over there and have your help if you want to go through my pattern and help me perfect it. The day this is going up, I think I'm going to put this up on Monday or Tuesday. And so the testing call should still be open if you see this right when it comes out. I'm planning on sending out an email to testers on Wednesday the 17th. So make sure if you are interested in testing this pattern for me that you reach out to me so that we can coordinate if you're a good fit for this pattern. I would love to have some extra help. It's been really interesting to share the process with you. I'm really happy with how my scarf turned out. It is so soft, so warm, so cozy, but also really drapey and lightweight, which is really nice. So you can really style it in just a stylistic way, or you can style it in a way that is really warm for the cold weather. So I think it's a really great transitional piece, and I'm excited to see your versions all work up. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Hoping to have this release sometime early to mid-December so that this can be a cozy make for the colder weather.
Okay, past Emily, not so fast.
I quickly realized that my timing for both the pattern test and the release date would just not work. Everyone is too busy with preparing for the holidays, and I didn't want this design that I loved so much to just get swallowed up and disappear in the crowd of everything going on this time of year. It was hard enough to find testers for this pattern, and I just didn't want to release it and have no one notice it at all. That made me really sad to think about. So I humbled myself, took a step back, listened to some advice from other designers I admire, and I changed my plans for this design release. Don't worry, if you are seeing this video, it means that I'm trying this again and the pattern will be available soon. I'll have information in the description box about the testing call so that you can apply if you're interested. As I'm filming this right now, the plan is for the pattern draft to go to testers on January 12th and the pattern to be published on February 4th. But the final decision for all that will be in the description box as well as in a pinned comment on this video, so you can check it out there. I'm so excited to get this design out into the world, and I hope that you are too.
Make sure to like and comment on this video what you enjoyed seeing as part of the design process if you're not very familiar with it, or if you are a designer, share with me anything that you kind of do different in your process from start to finish. It'd be really cool to hear from you. There's not one right or wrong way to do it. It's just kind of as inspiration strikes and kind of what works, and I feel like every pattern honestly is a little bit different in the process. This one was a lot more work up front in designing and planning, and then it was just fun to work it up really quickly. And so I'd love to hear from you about any interest in that, and also I would love if you want to be sticking around for more videos like this, day in the life vlogs, process vlogs, studio vlogs, podcast episodes for knitting and crochet, the things I'm working on, other informational and tutorial type videos. I would love to share with you, and I'd love to have you here. So make sure to subscribe down below, hit that bell notification so you're notified whenever I post a new video. And I'm thinking I might do a vlogmas. We shall see, at least to some extent. I will definitely be doing more day-to-day vlogs in December to kind of show what things I'm working on in the holiday crunch time. And we're gonna go visit family for Christmas, so that should be really fun to document. Yeah, that's everything going on. I'm so happy to have you here, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Happy making. Bye.